Hello, everyone. Welcome to Metazoa Brewing, and welcome to your Saturday Evening Post Week in Review. My name is Chris Wakefield, and I am the marketing manager for the Saturday Evening Post.
I'm Nicholas Gilmore, and I'm a staff writer at the Post.
I'm Troy Brownfield, staff writer.
A lot to talk about this week, but first of all, let me tell you that you can subscribe to the Saturday Evening Post. A one-year subscription is only $15. That gets you 6 brand new issues of the Saturday Evening Post delivered to your house and a heck of a lot more. You can go to SaturdayEveningPost.com/subscribe for more details. One-year subscription, $15. All right, let's do this first. We have a piece that went up on SaturdayEveningPost.com in our Considering History segment from writer Ben Railton talking about and linking Jackie Robinson and his entrance into Major League Baseball to the recent decision by Nike to have Colin Kaepernick as their spokesperson. Troy, fire away.
It's a good move for Nike. It's done nothing but start conversation. A lot of people don't realize that they're also the supplier of jerseys to the NFL and the NBA. And kind of quietly, while this has been going on, the NFL renewed their agreement with Nike for another 10 years. So they're rock solid in terms of what's going to happen. They're marketing for the next 30 years of fans.
Right.
They are thinking way in advance. They know that they've got that 10 years of jersey sales locked in for 2 leagues. On a business level, it's not going to hurt them. On a conceptual level, I think it says a lot that they're willing to go in and back not just Kaepernick, but a series of athletes in this new series of ads, including Serena Williams and LeBron James. They are really making a statement with
Right. Kind of connecting that lineage of minority athletes from Jackie Robinson, who of course broke down a ton of barriers, and now Colin Kaepernick, who's a lot of people say are breaking down barriers in a different way. So you can go read that Considering History piece over at SaturdayEveningPost.com. It's causing a lot of conversation over on our social media, so go ahead and let your voice be heard also, SaturdayEveningPost.com. Next piece we're going to talk about, this is Labor Day week. Our archivist Jeff Nielsen came out with a piece, Has the American Work Ethic Gotten Worse? Jeff lays out the piece and says, actually, it hasn't. A lot of people think of millennials as lazy, loafing, not forget. No, I was pointing at the guy over there. As lazy and loafing, but Jeff is making the argument that actually people today, millennials today, I'm a millennial also, may actually be working harder than previous generations.
Yeah, he brings up the statistics of hours, average hours that people work a week, which is higher now.
Right.
It has been in the past, specifically 40 or 50 years ago. And, yeah, I mean, that's not news to me that work ethic hasn't
It's not
declined.
news to us, but do you think to our grandparents' generation, they might go, oh, because of what all the media that we're fed, they might go, oh, yeah, you guys are the lazy millennials, right?
Yeah, I think boomers think that millennials are 14.
Right.
When they hear that, they think that they're like Generation Snapchat. They don't think of them as being business owners and parents and job havers. But the thing that they neglect to think about, and this is a primary concern, I think, in 1974 or so, a course per credit hour to Indiana universities was average of like $15, $18 a credit hour, compared to now when it's hundreds of dollars. So just start there. And start with little things like gallon of gas and price of a cheeseburger and all these things, and look at how astronomically different the prices are in comparison with a very stagnant wage growth.
Right.
So you start with that, you guys are screwed.
It's easy to make the argument that people today, millennials, are working twice as hard and getting half the pay for it. So a lot of that has to do with the recession in 2008 and how employers want to do more with less and things like that. So again, an interesting piece over at SaturdayEveningPost.com. Speaking of Labor Day, Nick, you have a piece about West Virginia coal miners. Talk to us about this piece and your experience.
Yeah, so I visited the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum, which is in Maitland, close to the Kentucky and West Virginia border in Hatfield, McCoy country.
Okay.
And so, yeah, this was an event that went on in the early 20th century. Several events that all kind of come together to form this these mine wars that West Virginia miners were involved in. It was the biggest labor uprising in American history. The miners took up arms against these hired mine guards that mine operators had hired to kind of keep them in line. Probably the biggest issue with the West Virginia mines in the early century was that the mine operators wouldn't allow them to unionize with the UMWA, the United Mine Workers of America, and they, whereas Indiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, a lot of them had union mines, and West Virginia, specifically southern West Virginia, didn't have that. So this all kind of culminated in the Battle of Blair Mountain, which was in 1921, and that was the largest insurrection since the Civil War in the country. And a lot of West Virginians aren't, a lot of Americans aren't familiar with this history, and even West Virginians a lot of the time aren't, because groups down there say that it's not taught in schools as it should be, specifically for being such personal history. A lot of West Virginians still are generational West Virginians.
Right. And a lot of them are still coal miners.
Well, yeah, not nearly as many as
not as many, but it's a
probably,
generational occupation for a lot of families in West Virginia.
It is, yeah. And yeah, there's a big history that goes along with coal mining. It's obviously still very political. So it's really interesting to look back at that and to see how their state history is shaped, what they're facing today. I mean, Trump was just in West Virginia less than a month ago, talking to a crowd in Charleston with their governor, and about, part of that was about coal mining.
About coal mining.
I mean, that was a big part of his campaign. Right. So, looking back at a lot of the different political things that West Virginians, particularly coal miners, have endured, I think is telling for a lot of current politics.
Really cool piece over at SaturdayEveningPost.com. Our next piece over at SaturdayEveningPost.com, I'm going to keep going, over at SaturdayEveningPost.com is from Troy. Troy wrote about, is the future of streaming TV, is there a future in streaming TV? Good luck in arguing this, because it was just announced that Netflix surpassed HBO in the amount of Emmy nominations, so it seems like we're at peak stream TV.
Right. One of the things I'm talking about in this piece is the idea that we might be heading toward a streaming bubble, because one of the things that people embrace with the idea of cable cutting and so forth is, I can get off cable, I can have a couple of services and they replace cable and it's cheaper. But with the proliferation of services and the subdividing of content, people who want to match the cable that they had online might end up paying just as much for all these different services, and they're going to be services that fall out and don't stick. I talked to Scott Mendelson, who's a film critic from Forbes, and one of the ideas he has is that you might see people stick with like a big three of Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon to kind of cover your bases, but then maybe get a fourth service that covers specifics, like maybe a Disney for the kids or CBS All Access if you're really into Star Trek or whatever. You might have that fourth service, but a lot of these other services might fall away. So it's almost like it's going to replicate what the studios have done, where the studios have all kind of gobbled each other up to the point where there's
consolidation.
Just a few. And so, streaming probably does have a future, but it's not going to look like this, land of 1,800 channels, especially if people keep getting on for a month, binging stuff that they want to see and then jumping off.
How many streaming services do you subscribe to?
I don't subscribe to any right now. I have subscribed to many. Filmstruck.
Do you have cable?
No, I don't. No.
What do you do when you go home?
I either read a book.
You what? What is that?
Read a book, Chris, or you can still borrow a lot of these series and movies from the library.
From your local library has a lot of this for free. Do you have cable?
The library has its own streaming service.
Oh, they do?
Many of them subscribe to it.
Because Disney is dropping their streaming network next year, and it's going to be huge because Disney owns everything and everyone except for the Post.
But I'm curious about do a lot of people have multiple?
I do.
Services?
I have Hulu, Netflix,
is that what
Amazon.
You see with the industry?
Yeah, I think that there's a little bit of a division, I think, between Netflix and Hulu, but I think that people right now, if they're still on cable, they're less likely to have Hulu, because a lot of what Hulu delivers
day and date.
Yeah. So, a lot of people, Netflix did a great job of branding themselves. They've been around for a while. I mean, part of what precipitated it was, they've been around for 21 years, and a lot of people don't realize that they have. And they've been aggressively streaming for about 8 now, with the debut of House of Cards. But you've got this kind of thing where, as people have slowly made that move, they realize, oh, there's things I'm missing.
Right.
And there's still
gaps.
To pay.
And the biggest gap, I think, is sports,
Yeah.
obviously. Streaming on-demand sports. So maybe that's the next frontier that ESPN or Disney will jump into, is streaming sports. All right. That's over at SaturdayEveningPost.com. If you want to subscribe to the Saturday Evening Post, all you have to do is go to SaturdayEveningPost.com/subscribe. A 1-year subscription is, say it with me, only $15. That gets you 6 new issues of the Saturday Evening Post, exclusive member benefits, and so much more. Again, SaturdayEveningPost.com/subscribe. You can find us online, Twitter, Facebook, Google, Instagram, at Saturday Evening Post. Where can you find you, Nick?
I'm at Darwin Jr. with a Y.
At Troy Brownfield.
And you can find me at Wakefield Report. Once again, thank you to Metazoa Brewing for letting us use their amazing, beautiful space, and we'll see you all next week.